Hello everyone and welcome to today's adult social care series of show and tells that kind of Lottie has been hosting over the past couple of weeks. In today's edition, you'll hear about Magic Notes, which is an AI-powered tool developed by Beam and currently being tested at Kingston Council that's looking to kind of improve the quality and the speed of the care assessments at their council. In terms of the logistics and housekeeping, the usual, please stay muted if you're not speaking. We will be having the presentation first and then taking questions at the end. If questions do occur during the presentation, please do put them in the chat and then the team will take their time to answer those. But without further ado, I believe I'm handing over to Beam colleagues to start the presentation.
Thanks so much. I will jump into screen sharing in a second, but just quickly to kick off with a brief round of intros from our side. So I'm Seb, I'm one of the co-founders at Beam who developed Magic Notes, which we'll be talking a bit about today. Prior to Beam, I worked mainly as a caseworker and support worker myself within rough sleeping, homeless services, and drug and alcohol recovery. I'll hand over to Beth.
Hi everyone, I'm Beth and I head up product at Beam. So I've been working on our Magic Notes product, and prior to that was working on different tools and technology that our own team of caseworkers use. I also worked as a caseworker before moving into product and in various kind of customer support and tech roles before that.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Pritesh. I've been leading this piece of work over at Kingston. I'm part of the digital team there, and yeah, that's it.
Great. And Sue, did you want to introduce yourself?
No, it's fine. Well, I work at Kingston as well. I'm a project manager on the digital team. So, hi.
Cool. Thanks so much. So we are going to be talking, Pritesh is going to kick off with a little bit about the history of the development of the idea. I'll then talk through kind of what Magic Notes is, how it works. We'll then do a live demo. So if you're up for being part of that, do let us know at that point. And then we'll go through some of the findings from the partnership so far. Cool. So over to you, Pritesh.
Thanks, Ed. So just to give a bit of background on where we were at Kingston. So back in September last year, we ran a discovery around what parts of adult social care could be automated using various different pieces of technology. Some of the findings from that, we knew that social workers attending care visits. Part of that process is that they take notes and then write up a report, whether it be a character assessment, supervision, an OT assessment, but they would write up that report in their own case management system. That process took quite a long time to do for them. They wouldn't go and type it up straight away. Normally it's up to about a week before it's even wrote up. So there was definitely a need there for social workers to be able to have some kind of transcribing tool and summarization tool, something that they can use to ensure that that information remained accurate and also reduce their administration time. So traditionally, those were face-to-face conversations that the social workers currently have. Beam themselves, when we had the initial discussions with them, they already had a product that worked with other departments within Kingston, and they use their own caseworkers to have conversations with their service users. That product was used in the virtual context and not as face-to-face context. So after having the initial discussions with Beam, we thought that there was something there that we could adapt so that we can start using this product for face-to-face sessions. On to the next slide, sir. So this presented a couple of challenges. So we had, like I said, we had the initial discussions with Beam, thought there was an opportunity there, and we met up with the social workers and presented this product with them. And following those discussions, it was decided that care reviews would be a good use case to pilot this particular product on. And with that, it would address the backlog that we currently have within Kingston of care review sessions. And that backlog will only increase within 2024 of this year. But this presented a number of things that we needed to do before testing it with our service users. We needed to ensure that that data was safe and secure and complied to our GDPR standards. We needed the product to work in a face-to-face conversation and situation, and we needed to ensure that the transcriptions were accurate and could handle strong accents. So therefore, we went around. There was a number of benefits that we wanted to address as part of this.
Oh no, I was definitely going to join. Yeah. No, I invited you. But
Catherine,
anyway.
would you please go on mute, please? Thanks. So there was a couple of benefits that we wanted to deliver as part of this project. We wanted to reduce the administration time to enable that ease of use for writing up those assessments for social workers. And we also wanted to improve the accuracy of these assessments as well. Okay, next slide, please. So there was a number of activities that took place during this phase. Back in December, we first had the initial discussions with Beam, met with the social workers, and Beam created an initial user journey really quickly. When it came after Christmas, we signed all the data agreements, did the due diligence on getting our security officer involved, ensuring that Beam had all the assurances in place to ensure that that data remains secure. And we also Beam also built the first version of Magic Notes, which is what the product is called. So, and presented that to the digital team. We fed back and it carried on iterating. And we also tested that internally within January. And by the time it reached the start of February, we were ready to start the pilot. And Beam held training sessions for the social workers to ensure that they had a level of confidence to actually use this when doing those visits. They even attended and observed some of the visits themselves, so that they were on hand to provide that support. And as the pilot went on and we gained a lot more feedback from the social workers, Beam also developed a set of new templates as part of that development process. So we didn't just test it with reviews, we also tested it with OT assessments, mental capacity assessments, supervisions, and care act assessments as well. We've now reached a stage where our pilot phase of that testing period is finished, and within March we're basically speaking to all the various different participants, the social workers that took part with the pilot, and capturing all that feedback, and we'll be presenting that back to the stakeholders and discuss next steps for this project. And with that, I'll hand over to Seb, who will explain more about the product itself.
Cool, thanks so much, Pritesh. So yeah, what you're looking at there is a early prototype of Magic Notes. And as Pritesh was explaining, we sort of designed it initially for our own casework team. So Beam itself has about 80 caseworkers that support people from different disadvantaged backgrounds. And when we were trying this within our own team, the impact of it was very, very transformative. We found each caseworker was saving about a day a week in admin time. So when we went to Kingston, we sort of presented the concept, but also wanted to understand how we could adapt it for social work teams. And the main thing that was immediately clear and is obvious from the prototype is we wanted it to work mainly on people's mobile phones. And that's because most sessions still happen in person. It's strange and intrusive to open up a laptop and have that in between you, but just having your phone out is quite normal and doesn't present that much of a physical obstacle. And yeah, it works through 3 fairly simple steps. So when you sit down with someone, you get consent and begin recording the session. After it's recorded, you'll then get an email which links you through to a full transcription, including who said what within the session. And then we use generative AI to create a custom summary based on what that social worker needs to know. And that can take a variety of different forms depending on what's most useful for them. So I can quickly show you what that looks like in a bit more detail. So if you were using it on your phone, you would log in via your email. You can sit down with someone. You then get these notifications. So you need to make sure everyone has agreed to be recorded. You need to do a round of introductions at the start so the technology knows who is saying what, and then you need to keep your phone unlocked during the session. After you've done that, you can start recording. If you want, you can pause it and come back. When you're done, you will click save and you'll get an email when that's ready. So generally people will go back to their computers, they'll open up the note, and then this is an example of what they would see. So on this tab, you have the full recording, a list of the speakers, and then a transcript, including who said what. And then you get a summary here, which the social worker can customize. They can choose a template depending on what their team needs. They can make any changes to it, and they can see the original note down here, including a list of who's in the session. We've grouped it around care, act, assessment headings here, and it also captures actions based on what was agreed during the conversation itself. So these are slightly newer designs. We're building them at the moment, but the core functionality is very much what we've been testing. So I think now I'm going to hand over to Beth, and to give you a bit more kind of flavor of how it works, we can test what it's actually like based on a real life demoed conversation. So over to you, Beth. Oh, you're on mute, Beth, I think.
Thanks. Yeah, so to show you how Magic Notes works with a bit more detail, we'd love to do a live demo. And for that, we need 2 volunteers who would be happy just to do a short role play, talking through some of these questions that I've got on the screen. So one of you would take the role of a social worker and you'd be asking these questions, and then someone else would be playing the role of a resident, answering questions. And just to be clear, you can make up the answers. You don't have to tell us your exact living situation or your medical history. So I can see, Richard, you've got your hand up.
Happy to be the resident.
Amazing, thanks so much. Is there someone else who'd be happy to volunteer to be the social worker?
Well, seeing that I'm a social worker, let me volunteer to be a social worker. And I think for me as well, I want to see how it works on accents, because that was one of my first questions, because I've used systems that just couldn't pick up my accent at all, and things were spelled wrongly. So let's see how this does with my accent.
Perfect. Okay, amazing. Great. So
and for transparency, Azuka and I work together.
We work together as well, so I know his ins and outs.
brilliant. So you can really challenge each other with this roleplay. So Azuka, you can ask the questions that are on the screen here. The template that we've got set up will kind of group the summary under these different headings, but feel free to have fun with it as well, throw in some curveballs and we can see how it gets on. So I'll just start the recording from my phone here. And if you want to start off just by saying your name.
The introduction, so he can recognize, yeah, the AI can recognize us, yeah. Okay, have you started recording?
I have.
Oh, okay. Oh, hello, Mr. Richard Eyre. Good afternoon. My name is Azuka Agbai. I'm a social worker. I work for London Borough of Croydon. I've just come down to visit you and just to have a quick chat about how you're getting on. Is it okay if I record our conversation? It just makes it easier for us to get it into the system when I get back into the office. Okay. So would you mind introducing yourself for the purpose of the record as well? You know, just so we capture that.
Yeah. What do you want to know about me? Just
your name to begin with, so the system can record it. So and then recognizes your voice and my voice as well as we go along. Yeah, with our conversation.
So my name is Richard Eyre.
Thank you, Mr. Eyre. Is it okay if I call you Richard as well? Do you mind?
Yes.
Would that be easier? So you can call me Azuka. Everyone does anyway. So if that's okay. That's okay. So we had a referral for you from your district nurse, who has advised us that you may need our input and our support in some way. So I've just really come down to find out a little bit more about different things, particularly how you're getting on with activities of daily living. So how you're managing on a day-to-day basis. So just to get some background information, Richard, who do you live with at the moment? Do you live alone or with somebody? Who do you live with?
I live alone.
You live alone, okay. Do you have any family members or friends who visit you regularly? Anyone who comes to see you?
I've got my neighbour pops in. I've got a lady from the lunch club who does my shopping for me, and there's a lady down the road who comes in and helps me with my finances and my hospital appointments.
Well, that sounds really good. Sounds like you've got quite a good network around you. Good people who are willing to come in and help us already.
Yes, but
oh, that's wonderful.
I'm quite lonely.
You are quite lonely.
Yeah.
Richard, don't make me laugh. Sorry. The way he said I'm quite lonely. Okay. So sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that, actually, but maybe that's something we can look at, because we do have opportunities that we can talk to you about. You know, within the community, about things you can. It'd be good to know a bit more about your interests, what you normally enjoy doing, because then that will help me know what to link you up with in the community. But let me if I just get through some other things, then we'll come to your social needs and your community needs as well. So in terms of how you manage on a day-to-day basis, could you just talk me through how you spend your day? So how, can you normally wash and dress, just looking at your personal care needs? How are you coping with getting, really looking after yourself on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I do what I need to. I can wash myself. My house is quite messy and a bit smelly, but I can get up and down my stairs. I have a dog. He keeps me company. I don't go very far. I can't drive a car anymore because I got myself in trouble a few times with driving around the roundabouts the wrong way. So I've got people that take me out to the shops when I need to, but when it's cold and wet, I just stay in and I watch TV.
Sorry. I wouldn't normally do this. I'll start laughing if I'm in a client's house. I'm so sorry. So, okay, no, thank you for sharing all that with me, Richard. So what I'm hearing is that, you are quite able to look after yourself, in many ways. You can wash, you can dress independently, which is really good. That's,
I have to take a lot of medication, but my neighbour, she puts all the pills in the popping packet for me, and then but I forget to take them. But she's got me a tool that speaks to me and tells me.
And how is that going? How are you getting on with that tool?
Better.
Okay, so that's helping. So you're now on top of your medication.
I think so.
That's wonderful to hear. What about food? How are you managing with food, cooking and?
So the lady from the lunch club brings me my food, and I just eat when I want to.
What about at night? I mean, clearly that's lunch sorted out from the lady, but what about in the evenings? How are you managing with that?
Yeah, I put something in the microwave and then I eat that.
Okay, and clearly breakfast as well. So if you're able to do meals in the evening, presumably you're also doing your breakfast as well, and that's going well.
Yes.
Okay, well that's really good to hear. So it sounds like you're doing quite a lot for yourself, Richard. That's really
Yeah.
good news. Yeah. So what you've mentioned about your house needing cleaning.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, do you mind if I look around later on just
Sure.
to get a sense of where you're at with this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that at the end of this conversation. So, so I mean, we can help with getting your house cleaned. And I think when I look around, I'll see whether we need to have a full clean to begin with, what we call blitz cleaning, and then we get someone in every week to just keep on top of that cleaning as well as we go along every week. But I just wondered if I could hear a bit more about because you mentioned earlier on when we started off that you're a little bit lonely. So yeah, how are you spending your time at the moment, Richard?
Well, because I can't drive my car anymore, the people I have great friends who come around and I try and take my dog for a walk, but I have a lot of people that come and try and sell me things. I've bought a lot of stuff recently, and I get taken to the lunch clubs, but actually I've got the people are coming in to put a new electric system in the house. They came around the other day, and some people are going to do my driveway soon as well. So I'll need someone to help me sort out the money for them. But that helps me see people.
Well, Richard, it's really good to hear that you are, making these decisions, and you sound really like a very, very able man in many ways. But I think I'm a little bit concerned about the number of people you just mentioned, who are coming to sell you things. So, because we're aware of a lot of people taking advantage of vulnerable adults in the area. And more recently, people having roofs done who it's been highly overpriced and the quality hasn't been great, and also front drives being also done, and I think we've had a lot of information from trading standard within the council that there are a lot of workmen out there who are taking advantage of people, vulnerable adults. So I just really wanted to just check with you, are your friends, because you've mentioned quite a few people who come and visit you regularly, are they aware of, were they part of the conversations you had with these workmen?
Yeah,
Just to
they've
be
said the
sure that
same as
they're
you, and
okay.
I have to go to a memory clinic soon because they're worried that I can't always remember what I've committed to, but I'm making my decisions right now.
Okay. Well, I think I'll really like to know a bit more about this workman. And if it's okay with you, I would also like to get their contact details from you, just to
Okay.
get to chat to them, just to, understand what they're trying to sell you, because you've mentioned about your memory as well. So just to be sure that you're signing, you know what you're signing. And I would like to come back when they come in as well, so we can have a conversation with them. Because I don't want you to be taken advantage of and you lose a lot of money. You could
Okay.
potentially lose a lot of money. So part of our responsibility as a local authority is to keep you safe, to make sure you don't lose your money and you're not, you're not financially abused by workmen who could potentially not be, not be decent people and may scam you, if that makes sense. Yeah. So
Okay.
if it's okay with you, I would really like to be part of that conversation with you.
Yes,
But
that's fine.
yeah, so just so we, in terms of your, actually your
Just like-
social, is that
Just
okay?
to jump in there, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Does that give you
perfect.
what you need? I could have gone on. I was going deep down the rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were both so in character. I feel like we could have kept it going probably for the next hour. Can we get a round of applause for Richard and Azuka and their amazing acting skills, including Azuka managing to not crack up laughing when Richard was talking.
and by the way, I haven't done an assessment for the last 15, 16 years. So please don't assess me on my assessment skills.
There's no judgment here. That was brilliant, really fantastic. And yeah, enjoyed all the tangents you went off on. So what will happen now is that will be whirring away in the background, getting the summary ready for us. We're going to chat through a couple of extra slides while that's finishing off, and then we'll run through the summary together in a couple of minutes. So to talk a little bit about the technical details and how Magic Notes works. So now that we've recorded the audio of Richard and Azuka's conversation, that audio will be turned into a full transcript breaking down who said what throughout the conversation. And then once the transcript is ready, that will be turned into a custom summary with different headings, and the actions will be pulled out separately as well. So when we started working with Kingston, as Pritesh mentioned, we set up different templates for the care review, for the Care Act assessment, based on what those forms look like at Kingston. Once the summary and the transcript are ready, they're saved in the Magic Notes app, and we also send an email notifying the social worker that they're ready. In terms of what you can use the app on, so it works on Microsoft, Apple, Google, Android devices. It's a web app, so any device where you can go on an internet, on the website, you'll be able to use it on. And you can use it for in-person meetings, which is the main use case that we designed it for, but it will also work for remote meetings or for phone calls as well. And it works with any database or information management system that your team use. So Liquid Logic and Mosaic, I know, two of the really big ones in adult social care. So it works with them and then any other systems you might use as well. And in terms of the technology in the background, we use OpenAI's Whisper and GPT models to do the transcription and the summarization. We've got our own instances of this, so we're not sharing data with them and they're not using the data to train models in any way. So in terms of findings so far, from testing it with our own team over the past 6 months or so, what we've seen so far is that each caseworker saves about a day a week of admin time from using this. So they get 8 hours back that they'd normally be spending writing up meetings, because they can use the Magic Notes summary as the basis and then just add any extra information to it as needed. The second thing that we found is that Magic Notes really helps with the quality of notes as well. So by capturing a really detailed transcript and summary, we found that the detail captured on cases and information really goes up, and we have that real consistency over what goes into the system. And this is the same across one-to-one meetings or group meetings as well. And the third thing we found is that it really also helps with increasing connection. So in those meetings, rather than someone having to be thinking about taking loads of notes, writing down everything that's been said, because Magic Notes is doing that, they can just focus on having a really human, supporting conversation with the person they're with, which, yeah, is a much nicer experience for the person running the meeting as well as the person getting support. Seb, over to you on this one.
Cool, thank you, Beth. So yeah, I guess the other thing I wanted to briefly touch on is we see this as the sort of first step in a broader shift around how you can begin to use AI and technology to make things much more efficient and easier for caseworkers and social workers in the way Beth is describing, like give them more time to actually support people, be present in conversations versus doing admin. So the first kind of really obvious step towards that is by integrating with the different systems that are available. If you could click through, Beth. So at the moment, Liquid Logic, Mosaic, they don't support integrations. That in some ways is useful because the social worker has to check it before it goes into the database. And we think that's a really important principle of the technology. Yeah, we want to make it easier for them to add it in the fullness of time. So that's something we're looking at the moment with Kingston. We think by kind of beginning to sort of change the nature of the job and making it much more focused on supporting people rather than admin, we can begin to improve recruitment and retention across the sector. And then some very specific ideas that we've tested in our own teams of caseworkers at Beam. One is around kind of collaborative work and training people much more easily with a casework buddy. So having a assistant, you can see that in the screenshot there, that pulls out information based on what the caseworker needs to know. For example, here's some risk information that might be relevant to the call you're about to have, or this is the last time they met with the service and this is what they're looking to do. To begin auto suggestions on how best to proceed with cases. So again, not providing support on behalf of the social worker or caseworker, but providing them guidance around how to do that. For example, something we have a lot of Beam is these housing associations would be more likely to be able to support someone who's previously been a rough sleeper than others. That's very helpful to know. Previously, they've had to find that out through chatting to other people in the team. Instead, this kind of becomes a collective brain of the organization. And then an idea there around sort of sentiment analysis and trends. Because you're capturing the raw audio files, it would be possible to look at how people actually feel in these sessions and what people respond well to. So really begin doing a bit more of a kind of deeper dive around the quality of support that different councils and services are able to provide. Thank you so much. I think the last slide, Pritesh has been interviewing some of the social workers using Magic Notes as part of the evaluation. So I'll hand over to him, and then we can have a look at the Magic Note that we generated from the call earlier.
Yeah, so like I was saying, the analysis of the pilot hasn't completed yet, but what I have picked out is some of the quotes that some of the social workers have been saying around their experience of using Magic Notes. As you can see from all the quotes, that it's been very positive. A lot of them, even though that we have finished the pilot as of Friday, a lot of social workers have actually come up to me and said, can we just use it for next week as well? And yeah, so we've just extended that capability for them so that they can carry on using it for a period of time. And but yeah, it's been really amazing. A lot of the time-saving element has come out in the initial feedback that we've received. I think the social workers have been really amazed at how quickly they tend to write up these reports. Some have expressed that it's dramatically reduced their time in terms of doing that administration for them. The other big benefit that's also come out is the level of consistency from these reports. So social workers have various different styles of how they write these reports. Some like more detail, some like less detail, but I guess what Magic Notes also presented to us is that level of consistency to form a good base for those reports that enables that social worker just to go in and just edit those reports however they see fit.
Nice. Okay. Great. So our summary is ready. I'll just put that on the screen. Great. Can everyone see that? Okay. Maybe I'll zoom in. So at the top, yeah, we've got a kind of general overview of the meeting. So we've got in the meeting, Azuka, a social worker from London Borough of Croydon, visited Richard to discuss his living situation and care needs. Richard lives alone and has a network of people who assist him with various tasks. However, he expressed feelings of loneliness. Azuka explored Richard's daily activities and his ability to manage his personal care, diet, mobility, and medication. Concerns were raised about Richard's living environment and potential financial exploitation by workmen selling him services. And then we've got these different headings, and it's grouped the information under them. So if you were filling out a care assessment, you could then have it structured under the different areas. So where I live, Richard lives alone. He's got people who assist him, his neighbour, a lady from the lunch club, and another lady helps him manage his finances and hospital appointments. Described his house as messy and a bit smelly. Azuka suggested arranging a cleaning service to help maintain a habitable environment. Under diet, we've got Richard's meals are mostly taken care of by a lady from the lunch club who brings him food. In the evening, he manages to prepare his own meals using the microwave. It appears that he is able to maintain his nutrition adequately. Under mobility, we've got Richard is able to move around his house, including getting up and down the stairs. He has a dog that he tries to walk. However, he mentioned that he no longer drives due to past issues with driving incorrectly, and he relies on others to take him to shops. Medical history, he's got a mention of the memory clinic there, but we've got like no specific details on hospital admissions, tests or screenings. And medication, we've got Richard takes a lot of medication, which is organised into a popping packet by his neighbour, but sometimes he forgets to take his medication, and he's got a tool which is helping him with this. He believes he's managing his medication well with this system. And then with the actions here, we've got Azuka to arrange a cleaning service for Richard's house to maintain a habitable environment, Azuka to explore community opportunities to address Richard's feelings of loneliness, Azuka to obtain contact details for the workmen who have been selling to Richard and be part of the conversation to prevent him being exploited, and Azuka to follow up on Richard's upcoming visit to the memory clinic and assess any additional support needs as well. So it's pretty good. It's captured a lot of what you talked about, but one extra thing I'll just show you, which we've added in quite recently, is this extra text box here where the social worker can make any changes that might be needed. So the type of thing you can write in here. Firstly, Azuka, I've noticed it spelled your surname wrong, so I can correct that using this. So I can say change Agri to how you put it spelled with the I. And then when I click this, it will rerun it and update that detail, which I'll do in just a sec. And then the other type of thing that you can use this for is adding more detail around a particular topic. So for example, maybe I would say add more detail on what specifically happened with Richard's driving, because maybe as the social worker I feel it's actually really important to get the detail of what happened in there. So if I click that, it will go back to the transcript and it will look at the transcript, the V1 of the summary, and then the instruction I've just given it, and it will do a V2 for us. So that will just take a couple of seconds to load. While that's loading up, I'll just show you the tab here. So here we've got the full audio file, which can be downloaded if you need to put it into your own systems, or you can listen back to it here. And then we've got the transcript here, and you can see it breaks down who said what. So it's got me, and then it's got Azuka and Richard, and the different points that they said throughout the transcript there. We've got Richard, don't make me laugh, which is a particular highlight of the conversation for me. Okay, great. So this is updated now. So we've got, we can see Azuka here, it's fixed your surname, spelled that correctly. And then let's have a look what it's added in around driving. So here we can see, yeah, it's added in a bit more detail here. So before it was just saying Richard had been driving incorrectly, but we can see here it's pulled out that actually the problem was Richard unfortunately was driving around roundabouts the wrong way. Cool. That's everything we've got to go through today. Yeah, the website's there if you want to read any more about Magic Notes, and our contact details are on the screen as well. And yeah, super happy to open up for questions. I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat. So Genta, do you want to maybe support on what questions you want us to go through?
Yeah, sure, more than happy to. You've got quite a few questions and then a hand up as well, but I don't necessarily remember which came first. So I think let's go through the questions quickly. How does this tool work in situations where there's poor mobile connectivity? That's the first question.
Good question. So yeah, at the moment you do need to be connected to the internet while the recording is going on, because yeah, it just records live. We've done some work, so if the internet was intermittent and like dropping out here and there, that will work okay. It won't lose the recording. It will kind of store it up and then upload it in one go. But if you were completely offline with no access to the internet at all, you wouldn't be able to use it at the moment. We're thinking about ways around this at the moment, whether you could just record from your phone and then upload it. But it's obviously a few kind of security risks with that. So yeah, that's where we're at with that at the moment.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. So the second question is about the line of business systems that this tool works with, and how more around the approach. So how does it do that?
I can take that one too. So in terms of business systems, is that the tools, yeah, is that how the technology works, or is that how it integrates with the systems that social workers?
That was my question. Apologies, it's Amanda here at Lambeth. So I think on one of the slides, and as you were talking, it referred to working with, I think, back office databases or line of business systems, something like that. So Liquid Logic, Mosaic, etc. So I was going to ask, well, how does it do that, via what sort of integration method? But I think then the person that talked afterwards said that it currently doesn't integrate, and that's something you're investigating. So perhaps that answered that question.
Yeah. Okay, great. And yeah, to be clear, how it works at the moment is the information from the summary, the social worker copy and pastes it across into your regular system.
Okay, that's fine.
You can use the two together, but there's no automation there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, great. And do you plan for that automation to happen? Is that in your roadmap? Sorry, I'm asking my own question now, jumping the queue, but it's only because it's related to the point.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to be able to do that. I would say the main blocker at the moment is Liquid Logic and Mosaic, and them actually offering the ability for us to integrate with them. They're quite closed systems. So yeah, it's definitely something we want to look into, and we will speak to them about, but it's not an easily available option at the moment, I would say.
I would say if the councils kind of get together and ask them for it, that they're more likely to release the ability to integrate in. So yeah, if you think that would be a useful aspect of it, do let the database companies know. That would be helpful to lobby them, I think.
Fantastic, thank you. So we'll have one more question before we go to the hands. So did you find that workers modified their conversations to improve the recording?
Did I take this, Beth, or do you want to do it?
No, go for it.
So yeah, a very early learning was around the fact that people want to be able to do that. I guess when we'd originally conceived of Magic Notes, we thought you'd do the recording, you get this perfect summary, you add it to the database, and away you go. But it became very clear that different teams want different templates, and perhaps more specifically, social workers like different formats. Some of them want it in bullets and just a sort of high-level summary. Other people want a very good level of detail in narrative format. And we think that's sort of a good thing. You kind of lean into sort of making people feel in control of what they're putting into the database is positive and encourages them to engage more with the content rather than just copying and pasting whatever's there. So yeah, as Beth was showing with the refine feature, we'll soon be giving all social workers a chance to very quickly edit the note after the session in a style that suits them.
Fantastic, that's really good to know. So now going to the hands, I think we've got Catherine first and then Azuka second.
Catherine, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're on mute.
That was a mistake. My hand was up. Sorry.
No worries at all. Azuka, over to you.
Can I just start off by saying this is quite really impressive. So I'm quite, impressed with what I've seen so far. But I've also got a comment to make, actually. So just let me relate this to making applications for a job. When you send an application for a job, the personal statement presents who you are. And it's also about your writing type. It's about your, do you know what I mean? It brings you to life, So I guess my concern with this, because that's what is also part of the assessment process. The person's professional writing style, their professional identity sometimes comes through in the assessment. So I guess for me, that's what's missing here. So, if we have all assessments reading the same, sounding the same, my concern would be, how legitimate would that be? Should we take things to court, for example, if we're ever challenged, and then, all our reports read the same? Will it look like, well, robots are doing this assessment for us, not us? So for me, it's almost like a halfway house here, where we get it all typed up, but not necessarily use the summary. Because my concern would be workers just putting the summary that I've just seen into the assessment as the assessment. Because we need to be seeing more of the worker coming through in the assessment report, so that we can see that they've actually thought about what they're writing, their professional opinions and judgment and observation is coming through as well. I don't know if I'm making sense here.
Yes, absolutely makes sense. And so the short answer is you can add another recording on top. So I don't know if you remember when I was showing you in the prototype, you can pause the recording and then add to it. So we want to give people the ability to layer their own analysis on top of it, versus it just being automatically generated, and then also using those edit tools as well. I don't know if you have anything else to add on that, Pritesh or Beth.
Yeah, so when I first saw this tool, I saw it more of an assistive tool for the social workers and not to replace their day-to-day work. And so what I always advise for the social worker to do is, don't just copy and paste it, look through it, ensure that it contains all the information that you'd usually put into it, and then submit it into the case management tool. Because you're right, the social workers have that expertise. The AI doesn't have that expertise, the social worker does, and we need that pulling through. And so I always insist for the social worker to review what's there, amend it, edit it, however they see fit, and then submit it. We're aiming to shorten that administration time, but we still need that quality to come through.
Great, thank you. I think we've got a couple more questions in the chat. So we have one about the full transcript. So I think, Beth, from what you're saying, I believe we can see the full transcript of the conversation. The second,
it's the full transcript is available to the user as well as the summary.
Thank you. And then second question, slightly more technical. So can the system be trained to use the I statements so that the report is generated in the first person?
Yes, yeah, we can do that as well. So with the summary, we work with the team who's using the product to create what the summary should look like. So yeah, with Kingston, we work together with the social workers to put together the template for the care reviews, for example. And as part of that process, we understand how they want it to be written. So yeah, if they wanted I statements, it's definitely something we could build into the summary.
Great, thank you. And then the next question, I think, is a follow-up to the integration with CRMs, Liquid Logic, and so on. So I think someone said in the response to that question that you can add to the database. What does that mean specifically? Is it upload as an attachment, copy and paste into a template, or something else?
Yeah, so at the moment it's copy and paste. So copy and pasting it into the templates that are in those systems already.
There's another, I'm not sure. So what's the point of the accuracy rating if the data isn't being used to train the model? You know, you had the rating system.
Yeah, so the rating system is a way for the social workers to be feeding back to us at Beam and for us to understand how well the tool is working. So, for example, they might feedback, oh, the summary wasn't very good at all. We can look into it from our side and try and understand why it wasn't accurate. And this has been really useful throughout the pilot with Kingston for us to understand where improvements needed to be made. So a few things that came up through this feedback system were there was some kind of like poorer quality audio recordings that we got through, and we were able to do some work to improve the clarity of the audio, and therefore that improved the transcript and the summary. Similarly, we got lots of feedback on the transcription service early on, and it making more mistakes with words, struggling more with accents. And we were able to do a lot of work to make the transcription a lot more reliable and a lot more accurate. So it's a way of feeding back to Beam rather than the AI models or anything like that.
Understood. And then we have another question around the transcription of other languages, particularly in instances where there's an interpreter present.
Seb, do you want to take that one?
For sure, yeah. So we've used that a lot within our own team of caseworkers. It's very good at translating text, and if you do a session in another language, it can translate it. So yes, we found it good for that. It's not something we've tested within Magic Notes itself very much. So we want to do more work and analysis there. But it definitely can do it. And you see our team, particularly, as I say, we do a lot of work at Beam on the support services side, helping refugees, people from Afghanistan, Ukraine, and people are using it most days, I would say, to translate text and also do sessions. So yeah, you can do that. It's a short answer.
Okay, I think there's another thread potentially on the data protection, particularly in the context of AI stores staying open for 30 days. Is that right? Or have I completely misunderstood that?
That might be that, yeah, I'm not sure whether 30 days comes from, maybe that's from if you use the kind of just publicly available chat GPT model. What we do here with Magic Notes is we're using their model that they've developed, but we have kind of our own instance of it. So it's not just like going onto their website and chatting away with chat GPT where you're not totally sure where your information is going. This is a version of it that's separate to that. and where the data isn't retained in any way by the model and it can't be used for training their model or accessed by any other users. So it's kind of a private version of it that we can access for developing this tool.
Okay, thank you. And then I think the last question I can see is about the setup and ongoing costs for the tool. Can you say a bit more on that?
Sure, yeah. Sure, yeah. So if you're interested, get in touch. We normally start with a pilot of sort of 3 to 4 months in scope. And then the ongoing costs depend on how much is being used, so how many hours of recording are being done. And we have found that varies a lot from team to team. Care review teams tend to use it less frequently, but for longer recordings, a front door team or occupational therapists might be using it every day. So that's the main thing we'll need to understand. I'd say, look, if you're interested, do drop an email to Beth and I. We can talk you through what we've done with other boroughs beyond just Kingston in a bit more detail and go from there if that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. I was just going to say, obviously we saw the findings about the saving in time, but when Kingston have reviewed it in terms of cost versus benefits, is it stacking up? Is it going forward?
Yeah, so that we're doing that as part of the evaluation is the short answer, but I would be fairly confident there'll be a very strong return on investment. Given the length of time it seems to save people writing up notes, stuff which is one of the social workers we were shadowing was still writing up assessments from kind of August, September time, and she can now use the tool to add them straight away. But yeah, we don't have a concrete answer to that at the moment because Kingston is the first pilot and we're in the process of doing the evaluation, which should hopefully be done over the next couple of weeks.
Perfect, thank you. I'll be in touch, Seb. It's Amanda from Lambeth.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're happy to share any findings whenever the report is done.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any last questions for the presenters? It doesn't appear. Oh, we've got one hand up, one last. Maria, please do jump in. No worries if not. Okay, I think we've come to the end of the session. So just to say thank you very much to all the presenters today. It's been really, really fascinating and interesting to see the progress of the prototype. And thank you very much to all of you for taking the time to be in this show and tell. We will send you the recording and the slides from the session today, and you've got Seb's and Beth's contact details there as well. So please do get in contact with them directly if you have any questions about the tool. Other than that, thank you very much and have a good rest of the afternoon.